The man had been lying on the ground for 48 hours, but he didn't dare move. Just behind him was a 300-foot cliff. One wrong move, and he'd fall straight down. His fingers clawed desperately into the dirt, but the sand was too loose to hold him. He was losing his grip. His body started sliding toward the edge. With his hands no longer helping, he slammed his face into the ground to stop himself. It barely worked. Then, at the worst possible moment, his phone rang from inside his backpack. Should he answer? Should he not? What if it was his wife calling? Ignoring that call might be worse than falling off the cliff, but lifting his arm even slightly could send him over the edge. So he adjusted his position, pressed his face tighter into the ground, and carefully switched hands. Finally, he reached the phone, but the next second, he got stuck on the cliff's edge. Below him were sharp, jagged rocks. 2 more hours passed. Both his body and mind were nearing collapse. Suddenly, he began counting out loud. He was timing the waves crashing against the rocks. If the water hit just right, it could cushion his fall. When the timing felt right, he let go and leapt. He landed in the sea, but the water was too shallow. His hips smashed against the rocks below. The impact knocked him out cold. Thankfully, he woke up in time, and with the last ounce of strength in his body, he pushed himself to the surface. But the real challenge was just beginning. Once he crawled onto shore, he checked himself over. Aside from a cut on his hand, he seemed okay, but when he tried to stand, he blacked out and collapsed again. When he came to, he had another gash on his head. But that wasn't even the worst part. His lower back had taken a brutal hit during the fall, and now both legs were numb. Then it hit him. He never called his wife back. He scrambled for the phone, but it was soaked. No matter how hard he pressed, it wouldn't turn on. Now he was really screwed. All he could do was scream for help, but no one answered. Ahead was a sea cliff. Behind him, an endless ocean. He had no choice. He took off his shirt and used it to clean the wound as best he could. To conserve energy, he lay down on the rocks and slowly drifted off. When he woke again, the searing pain in his back reminded him he needed a plan, fast. Climbing the cliff was impossible, but in the distance, a small island. He mustered every bit of strength and rolled into the sea, but it wasn't as easy as he'd hoped. His legs were still useless, and one arm was badly injured. He could only paddle slowly with the other. Before long, he was too exhausted to go on. He stopped to float and catch his breath. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit his stomach. He choked on a mouthful of water and began sinking. At the edge of death, he thought of his wife again. He wasn't ready to die. That will to survive kicked in. With one arm, he swam upward and broke the surface. But reaching the island was out of the question now, so he turned back. He lay motionless on the beach. It had been 24 hours since he fell. Even though he had written an SOS in the sand, no one was coming. Then, a surfboard drifted in from the sea. There was hope. He dragged his body forward, inch by inch, but just as he was about to grab it, a wave crashed into him. His head slammed against the rocks again, and he blacked out once more. Unconscious, the waves carried him into deeper water. He woke just in time, but now he was far from shore, and the waves were only getting bigger. Thinking quickly, he looped his backpack strap around a rock. It kept him from being swept under. Above, a helicopter passed by. He tried to scream for help, but the churning water filled his mouth. All he could do was watch it fly away.